Okay.
He reminded us to move the chairs back.
I did it last time, so I'll do it again tonight. It's a very good exercise. Okay. Oh, how are you tonight? You brought the light? You saw the light.
He doesn't know
So we're on Ayin Beis, Amid Beis. And we're talking about Rav Huna. So Rav Huna, you recall, says that Kotna Rodef Achar Chavero is Nitan Latzilo B'nafsho. So we can kill the Rodef, in this case the Kotan, to save the Nird. Now, a Kotan is not a Bar Onshim, and therefore Hasra is meaningless. He's not able to Kabbalah Hasra. So the Gemara adds a comment to enhance our understanding of Rav Huna, Kasava Rodef Eino Tzarech Hasra. The fascinating thing about that statement of that Rodef Eino Tzarech Hasra is that we've been assuming all along, if you recall, we have many, many proofs to this, that a Rodef is a Chiyuv Misa. And in the context of a Chiyuv Misa, you need what? You need Asra. There's no Chiyuv Misa without Asra. So we suggested, and this is a very important point, that there are two categories of a Chiyuv Misa, and we shouldn't combine them. One is called a Chiyuv Misa B'Toras Onesh, and the other is a Chiyuv Misa in order to save the Nirdav. If the Chiyuv Misa is B'Toras Onesh, then clearly we need Hasra. But we're now breaking new ground, according to Rav Huna, and creating a new category of a Chiyuv Misa. And it applies to a Rodef. And what is that? A Chiyuv Misa without an Onesh. It's a Chiyuv Misa, but it's completely mufka from Onesh. It's going to be governed by the laws of a Chiyuv Misa, but up until a certain point. Once you get into the Onshim category, that dimension of the Chiyuv Misa, then we drop the ball. So therefore, Hasra belongs to the dimension of a Chiyuv Misa as an Onesh. That doesn't apply to a Katan. It cannot apply to a Katan, and a Katan could never be subject to Hasra. He doesn't have a Kabbalah's Hasra. And therefore he cannot have Onshim. And we know that a Katan doesn't have Onshim. But on the other hand, he is a Rodef, and a Rodef is Chayiv Misa.
In what way is it? Yes, a Chiyuv.
And that Chayiv Misa means that L'chatchila we'd have to kill him with Sayef, if you recall. We discussed the Me'iri, I don't know if you were there. And then we spoke about the fact that maybe we'd have a problem of a Rodef on Shabbos, because maybe we can't implement a Chayiv Misa on Shabbos. And we had many, many discussions. What else do we talk about? Do anybody remember? Yeah, the fact that it's a Chayiv Misa with a Kimlev the Rabbi Minei. But we had another Nafkamina. What was it that? Now it's bothering my mind that I don't remember. Just 1 second. Did I mention Shabbos? I mentioned Shabbos, yeah. But no, besides Shabbos.
Other people can kill him.
Oh, besides Shabbos, and also the fact that we want to kill him with the Sayef. Okay. So those are a number of nafkaminas. I'm sure there are many others to the Chiyuv Misa. Okay, fine. Now, when the Gemara says, Kasavar, Rodef Eino Tzarech Hasra, what does the word Kasavar imply to you? I'm going to translate the word Kasavar into English and tell me what it implies. He holds X. What does that imply to you when you say he holds? Correct, that there must be a bar plukta, that there's a real, and we'll see it, I think, in the Esvei in a minute, that there's a real shita that would hold that a rodef tzarech hasra. And I'll prove it to you, because the Gemara says the following. I'm just fast forwarding. We'll have to fill in some of the pieces that I'm skipping right now. But the Gemara says the following: Toshma rodef shayu rodef acher chaver lahargo amar lo re'ei sheYisraelhu uben brisu v'Torah amra shafok dam ha'adam ba'adam dam yishavach. Im amar yodea ani shehu ken pot. But if he says Almanas Kain Ani Yoseh Chai, you see that, everybody? Because again, if you didn't see it, it's really kedai to see it inside, because otherwise he might not believe me. I've had cases where I gave a shir and people didn't believe me. They thought I created it just for dramatic purposes. So if you're on Ayin Beis, Amid Beis, you're counting up from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 lines up from the bottom. Rabosai, what does that mean to you? What?
He needs Asra.
Right. He's saying that you have to tell him Re'eh, blah, blah, blah. And even if he says, okay, I hear what you're saying, but that's not enough. He has to be what's called matir atzmo lemisa. And you'll see it again if you count up from the bottom of the page, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. You see where it starts with the word rodev?
Mm-hmm.
And the Gemara gives 2 answers to defend Rav Huna, because Rav Huna said that cotton is rodev is nita letzil benafshika, and the Gemara says kasav rodev ain't tzar chasra. Here you see that rodev tzar chasra, and the first answer is no. You know why the rodev needs asra? Because we can't kill him now, but we're going to take him into Bezdin. Why can't we kill him now? Because Trey Ibri Dinar, right? He's on the other side of a river, so you can't shoot him with an arrow and kill him and save the nirdaf. But if he successfully kills the nirdaf, then we'll bring him into Bezdin. Now, once we bring him into Bezdin, then you can't be mechayiv someone misa without what? Without asra. And then the Gemara gives an ibais ema omel charavuna ano di amri kitana, excuse me, de machtarto hare zui asrasa. In other words, Rav Huna is saying, don't ask me a kasha from a brisa, because you're right. The brisa holds that a rodif needs asra, and he has to be matar atzmo lemisa. But I hold like a Tana that machtarto zui asrasa, and a rodif doesn't need asra.
Because you have Asra.
But the Asra,
No, but do you see where there's machlokas tanoim on this point?
Yeah.
but the Asra is a preemptive Asra in case he actually kills someone at the end. Well, as you're saying.
When you say preemptive, you mean
you're giving the Asra,
hoping?
hoping that he won't kill anyone.
Right.
If he does, then you'll kill him by Masechet. So it's not the din of Roidev, it's din of Ratzah.
Correct.
The din of Roidev is that you kill him.
Correct.
first.
That's what I'm saying.
Right,
But look at the way he
so
says
that's
it.
why it doesn't apply.
He says that Rav Huna would say to you, Amul Rav Huna ana di amri kitana.
Right.
Do you follow what I'm saying? You're right, you quote a brisa. And you're 100% right. The brisa proves that you need a hasra in the case of road. I happen to hold like a different Tana, which is fine. Rav Huna can decide amongst 2 Tanoim which shita he accepts. But it's absolutely crystal clear to me that according to one shita in the Tanoim, Rodev Tzarech Hasra. And that would mean that a cotton is mufka from Rodev, and it's against Rav Huna, that's not Burzon. Don't blame me for saying that. The Gemara is saying that Rav Huna can only work according to that Tana who holds Hasra Machtar to who's Hasra. But the other Tana, which we saw in the Brisa, requires Hasra with a Matir Atzmo Levis. And I'm very unhappy. And I'm racking my brains on this from this.
So if he doesn't,
I'm losing sleep on this, honestly. You should know the last couple hours I've been very, very nervous. No, I'm not joking with you. This is not. I spoke to so many people about this. It's a pellet to me. Could you imagine? We can't kill the Rodev because we tried to give him Hasra and he did not accept the Hasra. So what's going to happen?
He's going to go there.
The Nirdaf is kaputi. I don't know. I can't wrap my brain around this.
What's a normal case that has to work? The guy.
The normal case of Asra is that after he gave him Asra, he killed somebody, and then we bring him to Bezdin. We have Edom and Asra, we put him to death. But here's a case of a Rodef. We're not playing games over here. It's not that, we think or we guess he's a Rodef. He's actually about to kill someone. Oh, hold everything. Freeze your frames. Are you willing to accept this, whole spiel that he's a Ben Bris and blah, blah, blah. And then you have to say, yeah, Almanas Kane, I'm going to kill him. And if he doesn't say Almanas Kane, don't touch him. What's going to happen? He's going to kill somebody.
Well,
I don't know how to
it's
deal
not an
with it.
issue. A Jew who pursues a guy, you can't do anything to him. He's not a Ben Bris. And you can't kill him. You did right. Sounds like.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we're going to say that in the case of a Jew who's about to kill a guy, he doesn't have a din of a rodef. Or maybe if he does have a din of a rodef, maybe he doesn't need asra.
Right. Well,
But I just don't understand. We're making a statement here
That's right, but the other side.
about a rodef in general, that a rodef cannot be killed without asra. And therefore, what's going to happen? We're going to let the nirdaf die. So after all the hours that I put into this, I came up with a partial solution. I know you're not going to be happy with it, but I'm hoping that you'll grant me that it's a partial solution.
Can't you say that he can be killed for some other reason? So, okay, so he doesn't fit the deals of right there, but if we kill him, then afterwards we...
What do you mean kill? Why are you going to kill him?
Well, someone's
How
gonna kill
can you
the
kill
right.
him? Yeah, that's what I say. That's what you say, but that's not what the Gemara is saying. The Gemara is not saying somebody's going to kill the Rodef. The Gemara is saying that no one's going to kill the Rodef. You know why? Because the Rodef refuses to accept Asra. He's holding the arrow,
Right.
about to kill somebody. Oh, I'm not interested in your Asra. Shoot the arrow and that's it.
No, the one doesn't say can't
How
kill.
do you
The
understand
one
that?
says that he hasn't, the din of right doesn't apply.
What do you say?
The Gemara says the din of right won't apply in such a case. But it doesn't mean that that person
Will be allowed to kill someone.
who's about to kill someone. Is
So
not,
what are you going to do?
well, you
again,
kill
he's
him
showing-
for some other reason.
He's holding on to the arrow. Do you understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I understand.
He's about to pull the trigger. So
Right.
what are you going to say? Superman is going to come from, where's it, Kryptonite? Or where is it? Where does Superman come from?
Krypton.
From what? From Krypton? And he's going to stand in front of the Nirdaf and he's going to accept the bullets? Do you believe that's going to happen? Because he's still reading those comic books? If you have them, by the way, you're a very wealthy guy.
Yeah.
No, seriously,
Yeah.
if you don't understand my question,
No,
then what am I hocking with? I can hock and hock and hock, and you don't appreciate my question.
No,
Well,
we
we say
don't-
HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to come
solution.
down Min HaShamayim, we believe that Hakol B'dei Shamayim, right? And God is the master of the universe, so he's going to come down and say the Nirdaf. Is that what you're telling me? If that's what you're telling me, I'm going to yell at you until I pulverize.
Pulverize.
He deserves it. But then you'll kill me because of a rodef. But then I won't accept the Haaretz Torah, and he can't kill me, so I'm going to kill him. I mean, it's crazy.
But
The whole thing is wild.
I think I do understand what David is saying. For a while already, for a few weeks, I've had in the back of my head something, I realize it's much more balabakis way of thinking. That
Yeah.
all these requirements for Rodef and Machloket and everything, it seems to me that B'chol, if you see someone's about to kill someone, maybe Din Rodef has special requirements, but I don't think that we would allow someone to kill someone else. You would stop him mitzat pikoch nefesh, mitzat, I don't know, al tamod al dam reyecha, I don't know, something else. I think that's what David is trying to say, and I realize that.
But it's not
I realize that.
It's not true.
Okay, no, if you say it's not true, I accept that.
It's sheker. I'm telling you, what you're saying is sheker. I don't
Okay,
usually
no,
say
say
those
it.
words.
No, say it.
I'm a very tolerant guy. And I love to give you the benefit of the doubt and give you a feeling that, you're participating in the shir. You know what I mean? That's what they told me in education 1.1, you know what I'm saying? But in this case, unfortunately, you're full of hogwash. And I'm saying it straight to you because I'm honest. And we're learning Torah, and Torah is a Milchamta Shel Torah.
What you're saying is that
Yes.
this is only the Mizgeret of Din Rodef, and if we don't have the requirements of the Gemara says, then you can't kill him.
You
That's
can't
that.
kill him. According to Rafuni, you can kill him because I don't care about Asra. But I'm showing you in the Gemara that that's not an accepted view, or at least we can't say it's universally accepted. There's another opinion in Tanoim.
Well,
We're talking about a Tana. I'm not talking about I found a tshuva in the Shut Bari Lan. I discovered some tshuva. I'm talking about a Tana.
Okay.
So let me offer to you what I think is a partial solution. And this is all a development that based on what we've spoken about over and over. Svei din. There's one din of a rodev, and there's another din called Habal Lahargacha Hashkem Lahargacha. So far, so good?
Mhm.
We cleared back and forth about Baba Machteres. Is it a din of Rodef? And the Gemara seems to assume so, or perhaps it's only a din of Habola Hargacha. He's not really a Rodef yet. He potentially could become a Rodef because the schus of the Baal Bayis is to protect himself, even if it means a frontal confrontation. So therefore, the Bab Machteres prepared himself the whole 9 yards. We don't have to go over that, right? So we said that might give him already a din as soon as he breaks into this guy's house of Habola Hargacha. And we suggested that in the name, I think it was the Meiri, that it could be that in the case of Bala Hargacha, in the case of Bab Machteres, there's no din of Yochel Atzilo Bechad Meivar. Do you remember that at all?
Mhm.
Again, I'm not inventing this.
Yeah.
You think I'm inventing this for the
No.
purpose of dramatics. There is in Rishonim that we don't have to bother, if you pardon the expression, the Bala Bayis to shoot for the legs. It's Bala Hargacha, it's a new din. Say it again?
Is that Rabbi Yonah Milani?
Rabbi Nosson?
Rabbi
Lunil.
Yonas Amiluni. Maybe it was Rabbi Yonas. I could look it up, I just don't have time. Okay. Now here I'm going to tell you something mind-boggling. I just want to apologize to the fellows on the right, because it's very hard for me to move myself back and forth. So don't think I'm ignoring you or anything. Okay. It's a Gemara on Daf Pei Beis. We haven't gotten to it yet. About our good friend Zimri. Do you remember our good friend Zimri? And who killed Zimri? Pinchas. I think we're going to have it in about 2 weeks. No? How many weeks? How many weeks? 4 weeks. So the Gemara asks the following question. Could Zimri have killed Pinchas? Why does the Gemara think that Zimri could turn around and kill Pinchas? It's a Zerodeh.
The difference.
Again, you're going to tell me, Berzon, come on, who are you fooling here? You're making up Gemaras that don't exist. This is what you call Purim Taylor. Like my brother used to tell me when he was in Eretz Yisrael of Baltimore at the age of 17, one of the guys in the Chabura, I'll tell you who he was, maybe you heard of him, got up and he said a Chabura on a Shvera Rambam for 45 minutes. The guys were despondent. There's a group of 17-year-old guys. They couldn't believe it. At the end of the Chabura, one guy said, and by the way, where's the Rambam? And he starts cracking up. He had made up the whole Rambam. This was a fellow by the name, maybe you heard of him, Rabbi Yochanan and his wife.
His wife from
What? From my hand. Anyway, just
Does he still make up Rambam?
what?
Does he still make up Rambam?
I don't know.
Only on
That was when he was 17 years old. I don't know if he still does. He's capable of doing it. But let me tell you, he has an unbelievable fertile mind. Anyway, so here's what I'm asking. The Gemara wants to say that Zimri could turn around and kill Pinchas.
Can I talk about? It's not a real serious.
Yeah.
Okay. So you went, I don't know if you went through the Marmakonis I sent you or not. Oh, you didn't?
Once upon a time, I don't.
Okay. So the Rush says the following. Okay, you'll take a look at the Rush. And the Rosh says that if Zimri kills Pinchas, he's off the hook. But no one else is allowed to kill Pinchas. Now I don't get it. Is Pinchas a Rodef or is he not a Rodef? If Pinchas is a Rodef, then not only can Zimri kill Pinchas, but anyone could kill Pinchas.
Right.
That's very different. There's a chiluk between Hashkim Lahargo and Lodo.
Rabbosai, we have here a Rosh, and it's not just the Rosh, the Mishnah Melech has it also without quoting the Rosh. He came up with it on his own. That as far as the Nirdaf is concerned, he could kill the Rodef, even though the Rodef has every right to kill the Nirdaf. Again, it's so strange. I can't get the words out of my mouth to call Zimri a Nirdaf. You know what I mean? It's like, first on you give me a clap on the head. You call Zimri a Nirdaf. However, Pinchas is not a Rodef. And I'll prove it to you. Because if Pinchas was a Rodef, then anyone could kill Pinchas. But obviously, Pinchas is doing what he has to do. And you can't, or well, he's allowed to, right? But you can't tell me that Pinchas is a Rodef. A Rodef is basically a Rotseach, but 1 second before it becomes an official Rotseach. You know what I mean?
And random.
So the Rosh says that, you know what? Pinchas is not mitzvah. He doesn't have a mitzvah to kill Zimri, which is called what? Hanoim Pogim. And the Gemara says, Halacha vein Morin. Had Pinchas come in front of Moshe Rabbeinu to ask him, Morai Varabosai, am I allowed to kill? Should I kill? Blah, blah, blah. Ain Morin. But he takes the initiative as a Kanoi and he kills Zimri. But Zimri, vis-a-vis Pinchas, is a Nirdaf. Because Pinchas is not obligated, says the Rosh, to kill Zimri. And Zimri therefore has rights to protect himself against Pinchas. Pinchas is what I call the Matzil. Zimri is considered a Rodef because he's involved in an erva, blah, blah, blah. And now, only with regard to one person on the face of the earth, namely Zimri, are you allowed to spill the blood of Pinchas. Only one person on the face of the earth is allowed to do that. How could that be? We're back to square one. Either Pinchas is a Rodef, then anyone should kill Pinchas. Or he's not a Rodef, and then how can you allow Zimri to kill Pinchas? But the answer, I believe, with the Anias deity, is this distinction. With regard to Zimri, Pinchas' status is not that of a Rodef, but rather it's a status of a Bola Harga. Bola Harga, Hashkim Laharga. But he's not a Rodef. So let's go back to this Tana, which we don't know his name, an anonymous Tana in the Gemara, who holds that a Rodef has to get Asra. The Rodef doesn't want to get Asra. So you gentlemen are saying, okay, I don't know, Hashem will take care of it, we'll find something of this and we'll kill the Rodef, he'll be zapped. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that the Nirdaf has a right to kill the Rodef. What do you mean? He's not a Rodef, he didn't get Asra.
Only the Nirdaf.
But they never offer the Sanhedrin.
No. Again, it's a partial solution. I can't give you a full solution. I'm racking my brains, and this is the best I can come up with.
So guys,
So either take it or leave it. You could say to me, oh, I call klu. In Yiddish, we call it, oh, the guard. You know, and if you're not solving my problem here, then I'm not interested in hearing what you have to say. Or you can say to me, okay, it's not a full solution, but at least a partial solution. There is someone who can kill the Rodef, al pi din, without Asra, even if I hold that a Rodef tzarech Asra. And who is that? The Nirdaf himself.
Only.
And in a sense, what we're saying, according to this Tana, is it's a handoff we're spectators watching a duel take place, duel to die, and we don't know who's going to end up living and who's going to die. But the Nirdaf is allowed to take every single method at his what you call it,
Disposal.
as a disposal, in order to protect himself, even if it means killing the Rode. The answer is, he as a Nirdaf is not killing the Rodev, Midin Rodev. Is Nida a Chalashem Rodev? But what is there? It's Abola Hargach. You can't deny that it's Abola Hargach. Oh my God, this guy is about to kill me. You can tell me, well, he didn't get Asra. So therefore what? He's not Abola Hargach? And this whole idea that you could have a person who's a Rodeh vis-a-vis one person in the world is a crazy idea, but the Rosh says it. The Rosh says it with regard to Zimri, that Pinchas has a status of a Rodeh, in the sense that if Zimri turns around and kills Pinchas, can't touch him. Can't touch him.
Then we say,
Could you imagine Zimri could have saved his life by killing him? The reason he didn't do it is because he was too involved in something else. I don't want to go into details.
But about didn't we say
He was
the
preoccupied.
whole household? If a neighbor can't, but let's say someone else. I'm saying, so if you
Exactly.
energize the
Do you
thing.
remember that we said, leaving out a household for just a minute, can I watch this Baba Machteres, right? I see a guy burglarizing your house and kill him.
Can't.
Why not? Because Baba Machteres, we wanted to suggest, is Habola Harga, Hashkem Laharga. But that's only as far as the Balabais is concerned. I don't have the rights to kill the Baba Machteres. He's not a Rodek. Now again, it could be that at some point in time, the Baba Machteres becomes a Rodek.
Right.
But then again, you get into Machlokas, so he needs Asra, he doesn't need Asra, you follow what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying.
But this whole concept that there are two different halachas here, is one halacha of a Chalashim Rodeh, with all the dinim and all the repercussions and all the conditions, and there's another halacha Bola Hargacha. And a Bola Hargacha is like an unfettered, free kind of halacha, but it's only for one person. But when I say unfettered and free, I mean, you're not going to tell me, well, he's got to kill him with a sayev. You're not going to tell me, well, he's got to shoot for the legs. You're not going to tell me, well, right now he's not threatening you, blah, blah, blah. You're not going to tell me any of that.
Or Shabbos.
And you're not going to tell me he needs us. Because, and Shabbos. Shabbos is not going to matter one iota. Why? Because Habola Hargacha Hashkim. And that's what I'd like to suggest, that every single Rodev has another status, another din that's sort of hiding in the shadows. You don't see it up front. When you see up front, oh, he's a Rodev. No. There's much more than that. He's not only a Rodev, but he's a Bola Hargach. And you'll ask me, why Nafkamina? Adarabba, let's call him a Rodev. Yeah, but in some cases, we can't kill him as a Rodev.
Right.
But we still maintain his status.
So always the last common denominator is our and
Okay, Rabbosai, that's the best I can do. I'm not going to tell you or fool you that I'm dancing for joy, but that's what I think is going on.
why would the Rishonim of other brothers? Or
You see, I think the Rush, although he doesn't mention our sugya, I think he's intimating that this should be applied to our sugya as well. But for that, we'd have to go through the Rush with a fine-tooth comb and then the Mishnah Melech. I'm going to let you do that for home, okay? Because I know how astute you are as students, and you want to get an 8 in the course. Maybe you'll get an 8 plus. Okay. Now, Rabbosai, we're going to look at Rashi. Dibra Maskal Yotza Rosh. So you may recall, did we meet last week? I forget sometimes with the calendar. We did.
the whole word.
So you may recall that we emphasized 3 words in Rashi in Yotza Rosha. Yeah, I'll just read them quickly and review some of the main points that we spoke about. The chol zman shelo yotza liavra olam on the second line of Rashi, lav nefesh. So Rashi says, in explaining the Mishnah in Olos, which Rav Chizda invokes as a kasha on Rav Huna, that the Reisha and the Seifa can be understood in the following way. The Reisha, which means, pardon the pun, the Reisha, but if he did not stick his head out yet, has to be understood as lav nefesh. And therefore, nitar leharga. He's not a nefesh. So what we're going to do is going to weigh on the scale the baby in his mother's womb that has not yet been born halachically, i.e. has not popped its head out, and the mother. So we have lav nefesh versus nefesh. So we're going to take away the nefesh for the sake we're going to take away the lav nefesh, right, the ubar, for the sake of hatzolas ha'ima, because she is what? A nefesh. However, once he pops his head out, Rashi says, Havile Yelud, he's already born, and therefore he has the status of what? Hello, everybody, a nefesh, help me out here. And ain't doch a nefesh, we can't take one nefesh and save another nefesh. I mean, what gives you the right to my chazis, to decide that you're going to take one nefesh for the sake of another nefesh? Now, we suggested the following, and I think I was a little bit rushed at the end of the Shia, so I just want to reiterate what was said. We're going to describe the following scenario, and I don't know if it's medically accurate or not accurate, but just, if you can just sort of imagine theoretically, do you follow what I mean? We need blood to save a human being. A human being. The ubar has that type of blood. We have no other access to any other blood. No banks, no this, no that. The only way we could get out the blood that we need to save the person who's about to die is by doing an what's called an
intrauterine.
In uterine surgery, whatever it's called, right? And we can somehow extract the blood. Again, it's a gory case, but just theoretically, from the ubar in order to save the person. What's going to happen as a result? He will live and the ubar will die. It's theoretical, okay? I don't know. I'm convinced, by the way, that this could be real. You could have such a scenario. What would you say according to Rashi? Are you allowed to do it? Absolutely. It's taking a lav nefesh to save a nefesh. Is everybody with me on that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now we're going to try to prove that the Rambam is on a different wavelength, because the Rambam says we kill the ubar before it pops its head up for a totally different reason. Kirod. And the Rambam, which we read very carefully last week, puts it as a lefichach, going back to the previous halacha, that there's a separate lav d'oraisa that enjoins you from having any compassion over the rodents. So that means if you could save the nirdav by killing the rodef, and you're fei nefesh, if you know what I'm talking about, and therefore you say no, non-involvement, mind your own business, blah blah blah, let it. So then you violate a law. And the Rambam says that same law is going to apply to someone who could destroy the life of the ubar. The Rambam goes into gory details about how to do that in order to save the mother. So the Rambam is very serious here. The Rambam is not telling me, we're going to kill the ubar because the ubar is lav nefesh. And my mind, this is a machlokes rishonim at the end of Masechet Yuma. And the question is, when a pregnant woman has kirdaikus and she has to eat, blah, 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 bulbus, also bulbus, and we're going to violate Yom Kippur, the Gemara has a similar case in Shabbos. and the Rishonim go to town. Whose nefesh can be subsumed under Bikuach Nefesh to allow us to override Yom Kippur or Shabbos? Some Rishonim say it's the mother. She's going to die. And others say no. It's the Uber. The mother will survive. Don't worry about the mother. Fasting is not easy, but she'll survive. But the Uber is going to die. Again, without going to the medicine, because I don't know anything about medicine. So I'm not the right guy to talk about. Isma Mela, what are they arguing about? What's the Yesod HaPlukta, whether or not we can violate Yom Kippur or Shabbos for the sake of the Uber? Is the Uber a nefesh, and therefore comes under Bikuach Nefesh, or is the Uber not a nefesh? So Rashi's okay, because there is such a Shita Rishonim, that we will not violate Yom Kippur for the sake of the Uber. The Rambam is okay, because the Rambam holds that the reason why we're going to kill the Uber to save the mother is because the Uber has the status of a rodeh. But the Uber is a nefesh. And I have no doubt, therefore, that the Rambam holds that if not for the fact that the Uber is classified as a rodef, you cannot take the life of the Uber. Because again, you'd be violating the principle of ein doch nefesh nefesh, because the Uber has the status of a nefesh. And the Rambam elsewhere paskins that if a guy kills an Uber, he's chayav misa. In the case of Yisrael, you know what? He's a nefesh, but maybe he won't live. I don't know, whatever it might be. But in the case of a guy, he's considered a rotzeach for killing an Uber. It must be that the Rambam holds that an Uber is a nefesh. And that's why the Rambam here, in this mission in Olos, is going to tell you that we kill the Uber as what? As a rodef. But the Rambam now has a problem.
When it comes out.
When the baby pops its head out, all of a sudden, ain't doch nefesh ne nefesh. So the Gemara says, Min hashamayim karadfi. Let's see the Gemara inside. Esvei Rav Chizda Rav Huna Yotza Rosho Eino Gimel Fishay Doch Nefesh Ne Nefesh Ramai Rodefu Shani Hosim Dimi Shamayim Karadfi. And the Rambam, when he quotes this Gemara of Rav Chizda or Rav Huna defending himself against Rav Huna, against Rav Chizda, he says Zeh Tivo Shel Om. So how do we understand this? You're telling me Min Shamayim Karadfi Le. And therefore he's not a rodeh. Very good. That's the Rama. But then you're telling me that before he pops his head out, he is a rodeh. And we kill him as a rodeh. According to Rashi, it's very smooth, because the Gemara is just pointing out that he's not a rodeh. And therefore we fall back into the position of ein doch nefesh ne nefesh, because once he pops his head out, he has the status of a rodeh. But according to the Rambam, that the Reisha and the Sefer are both talking about the same mitzias of an Uber, and yet in the Reisha he's called a rodeh. If we kill him as a rodeh, we upgrade his status to that of a nefesh apparently, and the Sefer he's not a rodeh. So last week, and it bears repetition, at least for me, we went through the Rambam about what's called a rodef b'shevi altas. Yeah, the masui. You have a masui, and the Rambam calls the masui that's weighing down the ship a rodef. And the Rambam says we're going to give him a tzalash. Why? Because he threw the masa overboard. And no one's going to have a claim against him, even if it was a very expensive masu. So let's get back to this question of an Uber. Did an Uber do any action? Is there a Meiser Adifa? There's no Meiser Adifa here. The Uber is being thrust out of its mother's womb. That's not a Meiser Adifa. So there's something called a Rodef B'Shei V'Altas. And the Rambam claims that a Rodef B'Shei V'Altas is still called a Rodef, but nevertheless, it's what I call a second-class Rodef. It's not a first-class Rodef. And then Afkamini is going to be after it pops his head. So what does this mean? So I thought the following. On the one hand, the Uber is a Rodef, B'Shei V'Altas, so without a Meiser Adifa. And therefore we're going to kill the Uber. On the other hand, the Uber is not a Rodef. And therefore when it pops its head out, we're not going to kill the Uber. So what is it? So I want to suggest the following. We've spoken over and over and over again about the two dimensions of Rodef. One is to save the Nirdaf, and the other is the Chiyuv Misa on the Rodef. So the Rambam says the following. That we can activate the principle of saving the Nirdaf by killing the Rodef, even if the Rodef is not a full-fledged Rodef. So before the Uber pops its head out, we're going to kill the Uber to save its mother, Midin Rodef. However, it's not really a full-fledged Rodef. It's only a Rodef that allows you to save the Nirdaf. If there's no other way of saving the Nirdaf, then you kill the Rodef, even though the Rodef is a Shevi Altas. But that's only a halacha in Uber. Once we get to a Yalud, meaning once the baby pops its head out, what is Ein Dochin Nefesh Nefesh? We can't save the mother by taking the life of the Uber. In other words, we can't activate the principle of what? Of Hatzolas HaNirdaf. Because if the Hatzolas HaNirdaf is at the expense of killing another Nefesh, so what have you gained over here? You saved one Nefesh by forfeiting another Nefesh.
Isn't that the usual case of Rodef?
Oh, but the Rambam holds that this is a Rodef B'Shei V'Altas. Once it's a Rodef B'Shei V'Altas, there's no Chiyuv Misa on the Rodef. So you'll always ask me, Yechiel, the same question: how can you kill the Rodef in order to save the Nirdaf? It's a violation of Ein Dochin Nefesh Shnei Nefesh, and the answer to that is a Chiyuv Misa. However, in the case of a Rodef B'Shei V'Altas, there is no Chiyuv Misa. Then all you have is Hatzolas HaNirdaf. Well, what do you mean Hatzolas HaNirdaf? Well, why are you making a choice decision? And you're saying, well, I'm going to save the Nirdaf, the mother, by killing the Uber. The Uber is also a Nefesh. It's Ein Dochin Nefesh Shnei Nefesh. But before the Uber pops its head out, we don't have the principle of Ein Dochin Nefesh Shnei Nefesh.
Rambam agrees to Rashi that it's not enough.
The Rambam agrees to Rashi that it's not a full-fledged nefesh. So the Rambam is going to say, well, it's a nefesh, and for sure we will violate the Shabbos to save the nefesh. And as we said before, but on the other hand, we're going to say that we still apply the principle of Ein Dochin Nefesh Shnei Nefesh. So what are you going to do in this case? It is a nefesh, but it's not a nefesh. So here the Rambam allows, in that discrepancy between a nefesh gomer and a nefesh she'eino gomer, to say that, you know what? There's no din of Ein Dochin Nefesh Shnei Nefesh. We have to save the Nirdaf. Who is the nirdaf? The mother. What makes the mother the nirdaf? Well, the answer is because the Uber is a rodef. What do you mean the Uber is a rodef? We just finished saying the Uber is not a rodef. No, the Uber is a rodef. But what kind of rodef is it? A rodef b'shevi altase. That din and that status of rodef b'shevi altase is going to allow us to apply and activate hatzolas hanirdaf. But again, what do you mean hatzolas hanirdaf at the expense of the? But there's a rodef. So once there's a rodef halacha, the Rambam says now we can freeze the principle of ein doch nefesh nefesh. Do you hear what I'm saying? It's a tziruf of A plus B. On the one hand, we're going to say that in the halacha of Hatzolah, we don't have to worry about doch nefesh nefesh. Why? Because the Uber is a little bit less than a nefesh. But on the other hand, what are you going to do? Okay, you want to be matzil her, but that's not midin rodef. So the Rambam wants to apply the din rodef, and the Rambam says that if you were to have compassion on the Uber, what happens? You violate a lav d'oraisa. Why do you violate a lav d'oraisa? Because this Uber is a rodef. Not a full-fledged rodef, but a rodef b'shevi altase. The Rambam holds that the rodef b'shevi altase is enough to upgrade the status and apply the lav of lo yachus to the Uber. But once you get to the stage of a full-fledged nefesh, and now you're in the throes, in the clutches of ein doch nefesh nefesh, hatzolas hanirdaf is not going to help you. So you're going to need a full-fledged shem rodef. Well, guess what? There is no full-fledged shem rodef. King min hashamayim korad filei v'zed tivo shel ol, and there's no ma'aser redeem. That's the best I can do. Okay, Rabbi, so where are we holding? Okay, now what we're about to start is, I call it like an introduction to a major sugya. And we're back to Rashi. V'im tomer ma'aseh d'sheva ben bichri. Do we have it? What? You have the Rashi, I'm asking. We're in the middle of Rashi. We started Rashi, but we didn't finish the Rashi. So Rashi now speaks about the following issue. Are you allowed to give up one life to save many lives? And intuitively, what would you say? Right? In moral ethics, I forgot what it's called. You know, the trolley, you know what I'm talking about? It has a name. You know, can you Google it? I forgot the name. It's anybody who takes ethics 1.1 in college. It's the trolley something, right? So what happens? You're the conductor of a train, and the train loses control, you know, has no control. But you can veer the train. So there's one guy here on the right and 5 guys on the left. What's it called?
The trolley problem.
Oh, the trolley problem.
It's a series of thought experiments in ethics and psychology.
Very good. See, the difference between me and you is that I knew it before and you didn't. But I don't know how to use Google, and you do. That's the difference. Okay, anyway, so the question is, can he veer off to kill one person? He's like actively killing that person, but he's saving the lives of 5 people. And in the military, you know, like in Sahel, I mean, these
9/11 shooting down the plane before it hits the tower.
Right. And supposedly they actually had a command to shoot down the plane.
Yeah.
Because there was somebody on the plane, I think, who had a cell phone. I think there's a whole nice thing. Air Force number one, whatever.
One in Pennsylvania.
One that was going
One in
to
Pennsylvania.
I think one of them was doctor.
the one that's going to
Right.
David.
So this is the story of Sheva ben Bichri. Who is Sheva ben Bichri? Hine Rosho Mushlach Elech. So if I remember correctly, the Sar Tzava at that time was Yoav. Yoav wanted to get a hold of Sheva ben Bichri, and he was threatening to wipe out the entire city unless they offered Sheva ben Bichri. What they did was they killed Sheva ben Bichri. They threw his head over the kosel, whatever you call it, and they saved the city. And dachu nefesh b'nei nefesh. So it's so fascinating to me that Rashi finds a keresh kfitzah here to discuss Sheva ben Bichri. Again, we're not interested so much in Sheva ben Bichri, but what it represents here, to give up one for the sake of the many. And where did if Rashi hadn't added this, I think we could have survived this sugi without this Rashi. But once we have the principle of ein dochu nefesh nefesh, like that's a green light for Rashi to say Yeshia Kloli, and he wants to tell us about Sheva ben Bichri. See, if they took Sheva ben Bichri, who was out of the sakana, that would be prohibited, says Rashi. But Sheva ben Bichri is also included in the Gzeira, and Hayanerag Be'ir, and Yoav would put him to death together with the whole city. So Mahu Il Chachamim, what do you gain by trying to save the life of Sheva ben Bichri? Avalin hu hayanitzol, afal pisha heiner rogim. If he could have survived, so he was outside of the suffix, if you follow me, is then lohoy rashom lemosro kidei lahatzil atzma.
Well, then Rashi, you can't switch the followers to hit one thing.
And 5 people were done. And again, from a halachic perspective, it could be 5 million people. I mean, numbers don't make a difference.
I thought it was a named person and that.
If it's a what? Name?
It was a designated person.
Oh, great. Excellent. You're wonderful. So this is going to be a machlokis in the Yerushalmi between Reish Lakish and Yochanan. But before we get to that, let's just spend a minute understanding Rashi. Rashi is saying the following. If we have to choose Sheva ben Bichri and he's not in danger, that's prohibited. So Rashi is going according to that daya in the Yerushalmi, which, if I remember correctly, is Reish Lakish, that even in Yichdu, even if they designate one person, you're not allowed to give him up. And Rabbi Yochanan disagrees. So even though Sheva ben Bichri was designated, they can't give him up if he would survive. But now Rashi has another halacha that if you give up one person in order to save the entire city, and that person himself would have died, then you're allowed to give him up. It's almost like, what should I say, Gavra Ketila Kakata, but I don't mean that literally. Then Rashi gives another answer that Sheva ben Bichri was Chayav Bisa. So you're allowed to give him up, even if he could have survived. That's what Rashi says at the end of this Rashi. Inami mishum demori b'malchus. V'hachi nefarish le b'tosef. Now, in my Gemara, it says Tosefta de Tmura. But I don't know this from Tmura because I don't know the Tosefta.
So there's a Hagos here. It says it's supposed to be to Trumos.
Oh, excellent. Okay. So Perek Zayin Halacha Chacham. Maybe if you don't mind, maybe you could get it in your phone. Because I didn't know how far we would get today. So we're learning a Tosefta in Trumas Perek Zayin Halacha Chav. Seah shel bnei Adam. Sha'amru lahem goyim. Tnu lanu echad mikem v'nargeu. V'im lav hareinu hargim es kulchem. Yehargu kulam v'al yimsu lahem nefesh achas miYisrael. It sounds like, in the language of the Tosefta, that when it says im lav harenu hargim es kulchem, it means even that person that they would give up. Whereas Rashi says that if they're going to kill everybody, even that person that has to be given up, then you're allowed to give him up. So I'm not sure exactly how to reconcile that Tosefta with Rashi. But then the Tosefta continues, Aval im yichdu lahem kigon sheyichdu l'sheva ben bichri yichdu lahem yal yehargu kulu. So this Tosefta seems to reflect one opinion. Now, where is the machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish? So that's not in the Tosefta in Trumas, but rather it's in the Yerushalmi in Trumas. So now again, if you could bring this up on your phone, and maybe we'll do it next week.
It's 8:27.
All right, so we have 3 minutes. So I just want to read to you the following: the Yerushalmi in Trumas Perek Ches Halacha Daled. If you can make a note of it. To me, Seos b'nei Adam shoy mahalchim b'derech pogulem goyim v'yom tenulol echad migam enaragoso v'yimlav reino horges kulchem afilu kulam nerogim lo yimsu nefesh anachzion yichdu lehem echem shev bebichri yimsu Omer Reish Lakish v'hu sheyich chayav mis. So Reish Lakish never accepted the principle of yichdu lehem. Rabbi Yochanan Mafal Pishen chayav mis. And why? Because it was yichdu. So according to Rabbi Yochanan, yichdu lehem is an automatic matir to give him up. And according to Reish Lakish, no, he's got to be chayav misa. If he's not chayav misa, he can't give him.
And Rashi seems like neither. Rashi's first teretz is like neither of them.
Yeah.
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
Rashi's saying that we could give him up because he's going to die anyway. That seems to be against both Tosefta and Yerushalmi.
I'll give you
But in terms of the halach of yichdu lahem, that's a machlok between Reish Lakish and Rav Yochanan.
I'll give you an estimate. They talk about stories in the war that somebody there was a grenade and somebody jumped in and said he'll be killed and save the others. That's the first shot in Rashi. Because they all would have been killed. He's allowed to kill himself because anyway.
so you're not volunteer.
All right, but both my room. And believe it, I want to pick this up next week because this is like the most profound moral issues that the whole parak is all about morality. It's very, very profound. It seems like the shots is not up there, so hopefully we'll be able to hear more.